Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dicks, Dorks, and Destinies. I'm here with my two friends, the Kid and Ken.
Yep.
What up?
So we're doing it. We're doing it today, Kid.
I guess we doing it today. I mean, I've been trying to avoid this one. Well, not really avoid it, but I didn't want to make anyone uncomfortable.
I don't give a shit.
I'll be the moderator.
Oh no, you're included. There is no moderation here.
Good lord.
That's right. That's right. There's no moderation. We don't believe in that shit. We go all
I mean, come on.
in on everything.
Do I need to remind you of a past episode that we've had?
Yeah, but let's put it this way, boys. This one's going to be a little bit more on the fence.
Okay, now.
Oh, this one's a lot on the fence. If you want to be perfectly honest about it.
Okay, just so our listeners know, our subject today is a little controversial, and if once we go into it, if you decide you don't like it, don't listen to it. Okay.
Yep.
But, I did do some research on this, so I'm pretty fresh on what the facts are. So if the kids screw something up, I can correct them.
Oh well, I mean, it's not really. This is conspiracy theory. It is not factual.
Okay. Yeah. So the subject for today is whether or not 9/11 was an inside job.
Right.
Oof.
And that's the touchy subject there. I'm still on the fence with it, but I've dove down enough into the rabbit hole to get lost.
Now, before we start spewing conspiracy theories, let me remind all our viewers. We're not joking about the fact of what happened. It was a tragedy and it was an absolute dark day for our country. We can all admit that and we can all agree on that. And it should still never be forgotten. And that's all I want to say, so that way everyone, all our viewers that are listening, understand that we're not supporting the fact that it happened. By all means, it should have never happened.
Yeah, it should have never happened. I still remember that day. That's the sad part about it. I remember watching it happen and unfold while I was going down to the weight room in high school. Oh God, I just told my age.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
all
that's
right.
okay.
We know you're ancient like Chapel. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's all right. You'll get a nap soon.
Listen, little baby, you probably need to have your fucking nappy changed. So,
You want to do it?
not really.
I get
No.
real cranky.
I can tell.
I I think I heard him volunteer slightly.
Yeah, a little bit. He's volunteering. I'll make sure it's a good one.
Okay. So let me get into this part right here. The conspiracy theory behind it is that 9/11, even though it was a tragedy, was a inside job done by our government
Which I have heard.
and particular branches inside the government. I believe that the CIA and the FBI are both involved in this. Now, there's multiple theories behind this that the Twin Towers and the other buildings that were destroyed from the World Trade Center, you know, there's multiple videos out. One of them states that it was, in fact, planes, and those planes were remotely controlled, so there was no passengers aboard. And the other supports the fact that it was not planes that struck the buildings, but those were, in fact, Scud missiles launched that struck.
Now, what I had heard was that it was planes. However, there was claimed footage that the building blew up and impacted before the plane actually touched the building.
Oh,
That
that
portion
goes
of the
in
building
that goes
had
in
exploded.
that goes into the whole thing of the planes and them being remotely controlled. because either way of whatever struck the two towers and the other buildings, that was not what what fully caused the tragedy. What fully caused that tragedy is the fact that those buildings had recently undergone structural repairs, but are the guise of structural repairs, but in fact were structurally weakened before the attack or before the incident occurred. And that's the reason why I wanted to do this episode on that. Not really so much of pointing fingers and seeing, or us fully admitting, going, yeah, it was the government that did it, so on and so forth. Just get a general consensus between us, and just have some type of an interesting topic to talk about.
Okay. So I'm going to preface this with the idea of false flag attacks. Now, the first false flag that was proposed by our military was done so in the early 60s. It was called Operation Northwoods. It was a plan from the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the U.S. Department of Defense as a precursor to go to war with Cuba. And it would have been a pretext to overthrow Fidel Castro. However, this plan was ultimately rejected by President at the time, then President at the time, John F. Kennedy.
That would be another episode, because that's another conspiracy that I wanted to talk about.
Now, that being said, that's where we get the idea of false flag attacks. However, we do have multiple phone calls from people who were aboard the planes to their families who are no longer alive. On top of that, we actually have a woman who was, you don't have this now, but she was a CNN conservative reporter at the time, and she was on Flight 93, or not Flight, she was on the flight that hit the Pentagon, and she was killed in that flight. So we have multiple people who we have recordings of talking to their families that their flights were hijacked and taken over. The Scud missile thing, I'm going to tell you right now, man, I don't know if you've ever seen a missile fly, but they're super fast, and I saw that jet flying to the building live. It wasn't flying that fast.
Right. That's where the whole Scud missile thing to me is debunked, because there's no way in hell, because I actually, like I said, I was down in the weight training room for weightlifting class in high school, and the TV was on, and I watched the planes go into the building. So I know full well that it was planes. So the conspiracy behind that being Scud missiles, I highly doubt it.
Now, my biggest thing has always been that it never got hot enough in the buildings to fully melt the steel, which is true. It didn't. However, steel starts losing its structural integrity around 750 degrees, which is way below what jet fuel burns at, on top of the other accelerants that were inside the buildings. A lot of people don't know this, but while World Trade Center buildings 1 and 2 did fall, a lot of people forget that World Trade Center building 7 also collapsed in on itself.
Yep.
Around 8 hours later, and that was due to the fact that they could not stop the fires inside the building. Eventually, they pulled out all the fire departments so that there would not be any more loss of life, and they just let the building collapse in on itself. I didn't know this until recently, but the Verizon tower, if you look back in like old MTV like videos,
yep,
you'll see a Verizon tower in the background. That also was no longer there. It was damaged to the point of ill repair. It had to be destroyed after the 9/11 attacks.
Oh, see, that's the thing. That's where I dive further into the whole conspiracy of all this. Is okay. Planes did hit those buildings. People were on board because we've got recordings of it. Those people are no longer alive. But were the hijackers who they claimed to be?
Yeah, and the biggest thing from government officials, because I get where you're coming from on this. The biggest thing from government officials is that the government is incompetent, and that the government doesn't have the competency to do something like that. And while I've worked for some places, and most places are incompetent, I would like to point out that Jeffrey Epstein ran his shit for more than 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And none of his employees said a goddamn thing about it.
Right.
So don't sit there and tell me that because of incompetency, people can't keep a fucking secret. Because people will keep a fucking secret if you pay them enough.
Well, I mean, if you want to go into that, there's a video where a government official is standing there either in the House of Representatives or the Senate giving a speech and listing off, crimes and, rape cases, this allegation, that allegation, drunk driving, so on and so forth. And he posed the question, do you believe this is NBA players or NFL players? And he got the answer and he goes, well, both of you are wrong. Those are the people that we've elected to lead this country. So the whole incompetency thing and the government not being able to keep secrets, the government can keep secrets. They've kept secrets for years.
Well, my thing is when Jeffrey Epstein was almost arrested the first time he got caught, and just so we're clear on the evidence here, he didn't get caught with like a picture. He didn't get caught with like, a little bit. He got caught with 15 direct cases of statutory rape, with a suspected additional 80 cases of rape. Phone numbers, names, pictures, naked pictures of these girls, all in his house. We're not even talking about the island. We're talking about down in like fucking Panama or like Miami Beach or somewhere like that, down in Florida. He got... All he did was make a couple phone calls. He got 3 lawyers, 3 of the best lawyers in existence, but he got 3 lawyers. They made a couple phone calls, and the narrative went from, we're going to put this pedophile in prison. From the state attorney, the narrative went, we're going to put this fucker in prison, to we're going to have a grand jury, and we're maybe going to give him 6 months of probation. So the government's corrupt. They can keep a secret. They can be paid off. Right. If you believe otherwise, you are naive and you are wrong. I'm not saying that you're stupid. I'm not saying you're a fool, but you are naive and you are wrong. Anyway, I apologize, sir. Go ahead.
Oh no. That clearly ties into exactly where I was going with. So, with the hijacking, that would clearly go into that these were not the people that we were told that hijacked the plane.
So, from the way we figured out who those people were, was we looked at who those seats were assigned to, what the names were on the tickets, and what we knew about those people. Those people did have ties with Al-Qaeda, and I don't know what other ties that those people had, but it would not be surprising to me if the CIA had a couple of spies in Al-Qaeda, because we had been focused on them for a while by that point.
No, we've been focused with them for years. I mean,
well, it all started during the Clinton administration,
right? But we've been focused with them for years, and I'm gonna bring this up as something that more than likely we've all seen, and at least a few viewers of ours, the old Adult Swim show Robot Chicken.
Yeah.
Their little spoof with George W. Bush and him believing that he's a Jedi and talking about weapons of mass destruction.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So if people can make those little spoofs on TV about it, I'm fairly confident that we had some couple of people, maybe more, maybe less. So we definitely had someone in the Al Qaeda camp relaying information.
My ideal with this is that yes, there were people that flew those planes in, but and I was asked earlier what would be the purpose of these, and it's an excuse to go to war with a group of nations that control the world's fuel.
Well,
That's the narrative.
Control a portion of the world's fuel supply.
Well, they control most of the supply that we
purchase. Well, they controlled the supply that we purchased, but they didn't control the most of it.
No, we do.
We do.
Yeah.
We've got that all tied up in fucking Texas and in between Texas and Alaska.
I really think that we should leave the Middle East and try to get them to drop their prices on gas. But I don't
the whole thing about that is we're trying to buy out everything that the Middle East has to basically corner the market, so when they need it, we can jack the prices up 10 times what they charged us. And we've still got millions and millions of gallons of crude oil to be pulled from the ground. But yet again, that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. Again, like I said, that's a whole other topic.
I mean, all this shit ties into the whole World Trade Center attack, and to me is part of the conspiracy theory itself. And I'm not, and that's the problem with this conspiracy theory is I can't really discredit too much, but I can discredit enough to be able to discern the truth out of it.
Right. My thing isn't that I think that it didn't happen, or that those planes were empty, or that those planes really weren't planes. They were like missiles with fucking holograms or some bullshit. I don't think that at all. I think the closest thing that we could come to, and I'm saying if here because I really don't believe that it was a false flag attack, but if it was, those people were CIA agents in Al Qaeda that
see that's where I go into it, because I don't want to believe that our government would stoop that low and kill off hundreds of people, thousands of people.
Again, I'm going to have to point us back to Operation Northwoods. It was proposed. It was something that we came up with. It was ultimately rejected, but it was something that could have happened.
But that's the thing is, I know it could happen. I just don't want to believe that our government would stoop that low to wiping out a mass group of our population just to start a war with a country that we really have no part of being in. I want to have that faith in our country, that our country hasn't gone and sunk that fucking low. But as the time goes on past all this, and because we're coming up on the 22nd anniversary. So 22 years has almost come and gone. And the more and more I sit in this world and go over everything and how the world's going on after all that, there's fucking Jiminy Cricket in the back of my brain going, dumbass, dumbass, dumbass. It's actually truth. It's actually truth. So that's the reason why I brought this up. I mean, I still, yet again, I don't want to make people uncomfortable. I don't want people to think that I'm not feeling any type of remorse or anything like that towards what happened, because that was a tragedy, and it was a very dark day for our country.
Yeah, I agree. I was reading up on it earlier. I got hot, man. I'll be honest. I was furious all over.
Oh, that's the thing is that whenever I came up with, well, it's not really I came up with it. I was sitting in my truck with time to fucking kill. So I was watching videos, and across a few of these videos, and one of the videos was FBI footage of a Scud missile being launched and supposed to be launched towards the World Trade Towers. And on top of that, then another video surfaced of, because people talked about it, molten steel being in the stairwells so they couldn't get out. And then a video showed of how they do controlled demolition with buildings like that by using fucking thermite.
Yeah.
And that that beams have to be cut on an angle with thermite, and and using thermite, you're going to get liquid, or we're going to get molten liquid steel.
The thing is that the steel never fully melted. Like, there's evidence that the steel warped from the heat and then broke.
And well, that's the thing, is after those two videos and I started looking more into it, and I got that, like you, I got heated and I got fucking royally pissed off. And then the little fucking conscience in my head goes, this could be all this could be, well, not all of this could be true, but this could be true. It could have been a fucking government controlled response, basically, to get us to want to go to war against the country who never really did a fucking thing to us.
Well, the thing is we didn't go to war with the country. We went to war with a group.
Right. So that's where my mind's at with this.
Right.
So, I mean, it could be truthful, some of it. I'm pretty sure there's a small sliver of truth within the whole conspiracy theory behind all this. And it makes me feel disgusted, especially if our government was remotely involved.
Yeah, I get that.
Now, as far as the Scud, like I said, the Scud missile going, I highly doubt it. I clearly remember seeing a plane.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a plane.
And I know for some of our younger generation here, they don't understand what TV was like before high definition, but we do.
Yeah, it wasn't one of those, oh, was that a missile? No, it was definitely a plane.
That was clearly a plane.
Yeah, missiles don't have wings that big because they don't need to travel that far and they don't need to stay balanced. Like, they can spin, in a corkscrew kind of rotation and not have to worry about the people inside.
Along with that, I mean, as far as the controlled demolition goes, that I'm not entirely sure how structurally sound those buildings were, so this is just a speculation. But if they were supposed to be as structurally sound as they claimed, I don't see how a solitary plane and its fuel and the fire from it could cause that amount of damage. I mean, I get some of it, because here recently I don't know if it broke across the news, because like I told my current employer, I haven't really watched the news since like 2014. So I'm really way out of touch, and I really don't care what most of mainstream media has to say. But there was an incident not too long ago of a truck driver who careened into a bridge out in Philly off of I-95. And he was fully loaded with fuel. Now, the fuel from his truck and the fuel he was carrying burnt hot enough and long enough to weaken the steel supports of that bridge and cause it to come down.
Okay. You saying that.
But with that, I'm fairly certain and confident when I say this that there's no plane in this world that I know of that carries that amount of fuel on them.
Okay, now I'm going to say this. You giving that story is more evidence that it wasn't an inside job than evidence that it was an inside job. Now, I can explain that if you'd like. But if you want to
By
continue,
all means.
okay. So, how big was this truck?
You're looking at a 70-foot vehicle.
Yeah, no. I meant like fully loaded and weighed down. How much did that weigh? What was the total tonnage?
1,000 pounds. 40
1,000?
tons.
40 tons?
Yep, 40 tons. 80,000 pounds.
Okay. So, a Boeing 747 is 100 tons.
Okay, so 60 more tons than the truck.
Okay. Now, you also have accelerants inside the building. But that not only that, but the way that building is built, we changed the way we build buildings back in the 60s. The concrete and the beams are made out of are thinner and more flexible, so that if there's an earthquake, they don't fall over.
Okay.
So it takes less temperature and less force. So a Boeing 747 weighing 100 tons flew into a building at 500 miles an hour and into a structure that was less dense than that bridge was. Like the density of that bridge, because it doesn't need to have rooms inside of it, was less dense than what the building materials in the World Trade Center were.
All right.
Okay, less density means less heat required to start warping the metal. And once the metal is compromised at all, you're going to start taking stress. And then once you get up to 1800 degrees, which is definitely within the parameters of jet fuel, your structural integrity on your steel is only 10%.
Okay. But with that, my little rebuttal here
Okay.
is that we had just, I wouldn't say just, I mean that cuts it way too close. We had recently reworked the structural integrity of all the buildings in the World Trade Center.
No, I get that. But that doesn't change what the building materials are made out of. You can increase the integrity, but if the integrity is going to burn up with the rest of the accelerants, it doesn't mean anything. Our friend Ken has been very quiet throughout this entire conversation. Ken, do you have any input?
Honestly, man, this is a subject that I don't have like any knowledge on. If I'm being totally honest, with something as devastating as a conversation like this, I really try not to delve into conspiracy theories about it, just due to the fact because I know it's a sensitive subject. However, I'm still open-minded, so I am listening.
Okay.
I don't have that, and being as young as I am, when that happened, I don't even think I was even in school yet. So, I don't have a whole lot of
Context for the situation?
context. I guess if I were to ask anything or to put my 2 cents in, granted, which I'm pretty sure I already know the answer, but I'll just go ahead and ask anyways. Just out of curiosity, why have we never rebuilt them? Like, if the World Trade Centers were such a shining beacon for us and was their sole purpose of, doing what they did, how come we never brought them back?
There's two reasons behind that, or two reasons that I know of. There's probably more than that, but the two reasons I know of that is one, all the countless people that were lost during that time, we decided to basically enshrine that area as a memorial and a way for us to remember that tragedy every year.
Yep.
And two, honestly, I don't think they want to rebuild anything like that.
Okay.
But that second one is more of my personal opinion behind that. The whole mainstream consensus is that tragedy happened. We're not going to rebuild on that area. We're going to make a memorial and let that be a constant reminder. But
Right.
I agree with what the
And
World Trade Center
I was
meant.
curious on it because I have come to notice that, and this is, in my opinion, fucked up and fucking stupid. But like, I noticed even a lot of people of my generation and around my age group have genuinely asked what the hell is so special about 9/11? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what do you mean what's so special? Well, I don't know what it is. How do you not know what it is?
Well, I can do you one better on that one, and that's whenever I explain to people where I grew up, and I tell them because I grew up in a small town. Chapel knows the small town that I grew up in because he didn't live that far away from that small town.
I mean,
Right.
it's small to us. It's not. Having gotten out of that town and gotten around, I realized that town was not as small as I thought it was.
Oh yeah, I know. 'Cause with me being a truck driver, I've gone to much smaller towns than what I grew up in.
Yeah, like we
But that
thought
was
that was a small town. Then I went to a place that had 74 people in it.
yeah. I went to a place out through Arkansas that had grand total population 69.
Hey, my favorite number.
Good number. Oh Jesus. I
But
can't say shit. I just
with
said
me being from a small town, and I try to tell people where I grew up from, they're like, I don't know where that is. I said, okay, well, the best thing I can tell you about my small town is that it has the significance from the Civil War, which was the Great Locomotive Chase. And I mentioned the Great Locomotive Chase, and no one knows the fuck I'm talking about. I'm like, how do you not know about the Civil War? Because the Civil War was like a huge thing in history for us growing up.
Yeah.
So
wow. Yeah.
I blame
So
that. I blame all that on our education system, which is severely lacking.
right. So yeah, that's the only reason I'm kind of being quiet. I'm letting you boys take the limelight on today's subject. But I am here. I am listening. It's just not it doesn't seem like a conversation for comic relief.
Yeah, I keep wanting to crack jokes, but I can't
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
this is a
Not on this one.
this is a very serious and sensitive conversation, and I don't want people to think I make light of the whole situation because, like I said, I remember that day. I remember that day as clear as what I had for breakfast this morning.
Breakfast.
Yeah.
And it still hurts me as a person, my humanity, my morality. So I know what it's going to do to others within mine and Chapel's generation because we witnessed this shit unfold on live TV.
Right.
All the conspiracy theories that revolve around it, some of them are completely asinine and stupid and make no fucking sense. And then there's some that seem to ring with just that hint of truth to make me question shit.
Yeah. And the thing is, that's all we really care about. We just want the truth. We don't want one side or the other. We just want the truth.
That's what I've always wanted since that day has happened. I want the truth to fucking come to light. For the love of God, stop. If the government was involved and the government did hatch this fucking harebrained scheme to start a war with a group inside of a country that we have no reason to be there other than their oil rights, why?
Right.
Why start a war over something as simple as fucking crude oil?
Okay, so to answer that, it's actually pretty simple. If we were to go to war over something that was clearly about greed and our own self-interest, there would not be any public support behind it. And if there's no public support, because they learned this from the Vietnam War, if there's no public support, the soldiers lose morale. So
yeah,
the theory
you don't want our soldiers losing morale, because if our soldiers lose morale, then all will be lost.
Yeah, well, ex-military, I lost morale before anything fucking happened. So
yeah,
which does happen. So I've heard, anyways. I'm obviously not military or ex-military, so thank you for your service, though.
I'll tell you this: you're welcome, but I didn't do it for you.
That's totally fine. I understand.
I mean, okay, this will be the part where I do crack a joke about it, because I'm not cracking a joke about the subject that we're on, but I will crack
Right.
the joke about the military. Chapel and I grew up in what we deemed as a small town.
Yep.
It was either in the part where we lived at in Georgia, it was either work in dead end carpet mills
Yep.
or fast food or join the military and leave.
Right.
And I chose the
Which
latter.
I've heard of that in a lot of places, honestly. Like I genuinely have, where it's like we can even probably actually use Justified as a good comic version of that. Well, what was the main character's name again? Chapel.
Raylan?
Raylan. Yep. Either coal mines or military. Coal mines or military. Which one you doing?
You didn't even have to go to Chapel to that one, because I blame Chapel for my obsession with that show. But yes, Raylan Givens was me
You're
growing
both
up,
welcome.
and into that character, it was either for him. It was either, what was it, the police force or coal mines,
Yep.
and he chose the police force because he
Yep.
didn't want to die with black lung in
Yep.
some godforsaken hole in the ground.
Or get crushed by a fucking cave collapse.
So that's where I viewed growing up, where I grew up in Georgia. It was either get the fuck out or let this town slowly eat me alive.
Yep. So, anywho, back to your guys' subject. Please continue.
So I mean I get the whole thing of, not wanting military to lose morale, needing public support, but as our government, do you really have to sink that low?
Yes.
That is an extreme low blow.
The thing is if when you look at it from the perspective of someone who's just looking out for the best interest of your country, sometimes sacrifices have to be made to make sure the rest of us get along a little bit better. And that's the point of view they have. Not all of them. And not even some, and a lot less now than what used to be. But some of them do have that point of view.
That is a very sad way to look at this world.
I would agree.
That we have to basically brace brick and mortar with dead bodies.
I mean, the Spartans did it. Why can't we?
Yeah, but we're not Spartans.
No, we're better.
No, we're worse.
We're both.
We may have made better technological advances compared to the Spartans, and you put a Spartan versus today's military soldier and equip them with what they had or for their time, our soldier's going to kill the Spartan because, I mean, let's face it, they really didn't carry much into battle. A shield, a spear, and a sword, and maybe a helmet. We've got full-on body armor, basically, and automatic weapons.
But we also have to look at, and sorry, now I'm going to actually pipe in on this particular part. We also have to look at the factor of the effectiveness of which the Spartans had, versus now it's, hey, can you aim, point, and shoot? Versus them, they didn't have the armor. They had to be tactful, swift, cunning, malicious.
Well, I mean, they sent
genuinely be a brutal marauder.
They sent their young boys at the earliest age of like 8 into military training camps.
Exactly, and then send them off.
We send our young men and women at the earliest age of 18 into military training camps, so they've got at least 10 years experience before we even have a day.
Exactly. So if you really think about that factor of, I feel like who would win in a dogfight, I would still say it's probably the Spartans by a long shot. Now, if we're putting our technology versus them, well then yeah, we're just gonna fucking blow them up.
If you're putting that if you're using that perspective, hands down, a full-on hand-to-hand combat between a Spartan and our best and brightest that the military has to offer, I'm placing all my money on the Spartan to come out on top.
Oh yeah, 100%. because they breathe their weapons. They live, breathe, eat with them. Like their weapon is their extension of their body.
But if you put them weapon to weapon,
Well,
I'll
of course
get
they're gonna lose.
you can give me Gomer Pyle or Private Pyle against the best Spartan, and I'll still say Gomer Pyle will win.
Well, yeah, but you also got how many yards of advantage with one shot that will guarantee go through that little shield? The shield wasn't meant to cancel bullets. I mean, good God, an arrow got stuck in it.
Oh, but I mean, with that, and Chapel, you said it that with encompassing the Spartans and stuff like that, and the Spartans did it, so we could do it. Don't we strive the country of our country, the United States of America? Haven't we always strived to be better than everyone else?
Chapel.
Yeah. Sorry, I was zoned out for a second there.
Okay, with what you said, that the Spartans did it, so we could do it.
Yeah.
As a country, the United States of America, haven't we always strived to be better than everyone else that has come before us?
Sometimes, not always.
But that was the goal, right?
Sometimes it was. Other times the goal was, hey, these people are doing it better than we are. Let's just learn what they've learned, and we'll keep going. Because that's what happens with the Nazis. We took their scientists and then killed the rest of them.
Well, I mean, we did do that, and that just reminds me of fucking the TV show Archer. Whenever Cyril discovers that Krieger could be a possible Hitler clone, and Mallory tells Cyril it was World War II. We were snatching up Kraut scientists left or right. I was
and then a bunch of Kriegers are around after a while. He cloned a bunch of himself again. Oh, Krieger. Aw, Pigly.
Yeah.
Aw, Goatly.
Goatly.
Okay. But yeah, this is kind of where my standpoint is on the whole conspiracy theory of 9/11. It's a tragedy. We all know that. It's something that most of us have a hard time forgetting, and it's something that a lot of us don't ever want to forget because we don't want history to repeat itself, because that tends to be a key significance that was taught to most of us in history class, that history tends to repeat itself unless we learn from the lessons that it taught us.
Right.
Yeah.
But for our country, and I'm giving this a possible sliver of truth here, if they were involved in this event and they did sink that low to hit that below the belt just to start a war, just so that they could have moral support from fellow countrymen.
So
how highly do you have to fucking think of yourself to not have to face repercussions?
I don't have an answer for you on that one.
Yeah, I really don't either.
As much as I would like to have an answer, I don't.
And that's the thing, is I don't even have an answer for it. So you would have to think extremely high of yourself to not, or to you would have to think extremely high of yourself to think that you would never have to face repercussions for doing something that fucking low and that disgusting.
The hand of God.
Sorry, a little bit of my anger and rage kicked in on that one.
Well, I mean, you did decide to choose this kind of a subject.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of our subjects as of late, even though we've been, and I'll give it credit on this because I've actually gone back and listened to episodes repeatedly. We've had a lot of comedic relief in it. We've had some wonderful, serious discussions. All I can say is it all can't be rainbows and sunshine all the time.
Right.
We're gonna have to peel back some of the dark and ugly and shine some light on it just to have a diverse podcast here.
We are the Dicks, Dorks, and Destinies.
Yep.
I mean, well, yeah, our name says it all. Dicks, Dorks, and Destinies. So.
Indubitably.
All right, so, I mean, I don't know where we're at on time, but pose this final thought here for you, or this final question. 9/11, was it an inside job?
I would say at the very best, our government is guilty of severe negligence on its part, and at the very worst, rampant corruption and a complete lack of empathy for its people.
I will agree. I can't say that this was an inside job because
We don't have the proof.
if there was the proof, the Illuminati would cover it up.
Okay.
But I mean, because it's the reason why it's a conspiracy theory is because no one has full-on tangible proof, and if they do have tangible proof and have come forward with tangible proof, they're going to be silenced.
Yeah.
And this will remain a conspiracy theory for as long as
They want it to.
human, for as long as they want it to. So part of me is still going to believe that our government had a hand in this.
Yeah.
And all I got to say on that one is, though, if our government did have a hand in this and their hands are stained in the blood of thousands, I hope your conscience eats at you. Because if you have no guilty conscience, there's a problem.
Right. Honestly, I think this was a really good episode. Before we go, I just want to go back to our previous episode, the professional wrestling episode.
Yep.
So Terry Funk passed away 2 days ago. And
He's not the only one.
Yeah, and
Bray Wyatt passed away yesterday.
Yeah, Bray Wyatt passed away yesterday. I just wanted to say, my condolences to their family, or families. I hope they're doing okay. And, it's just a really sad day. But other than that, please like and subscribe if you enjoy our shows. And we're going to see you next time.
And tune in for another episode of Conspiracy Theories where Kid dredges up even more of the past.
Oh, joy.
Oh, the painful memories. All right, you guys have a good one.
Peace.
Peace.